Welcome. I'm Julie Bacon, and you're listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast, a podcast for dog handlers who are on a mission to achieve big goals. Here I share lessons, insights, personal stories, and tools you can apply during your next show, trial, or test to help you strengthen your mental game and hopefully cue more consistently. Be sure to check out the show notes where you'll find details about the episodes, plus important links, including the link to the Dogged Planner and Workbook created just for handlers on a mission. So if you're ready to improve your competitive mindset, get out of your own way, and connect with your dog like never before, then it's time to get comfy, bring an open mind, and work your mindset. Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. All right, before I get into it, I have to tell you that the 2025 Dogged Planner is out. It is live, it is available, it is in Amazon. You can just search it, 2025 Dogged Planner. The workbook has also been updated, and what we added to it for this year is some I call it judging the judges. So there's a section on where you can kind of grade the judges that you see, whether they're agility judges or conformation or, obedience or whatever. So there's a little section on that. We added some height, kind of lines to the dog registry pieces. We added some notes pages in the planner after the calendar. Just basically took care of some customer requests, your requests. So check it out. It is there. It is not too early to start making those goals for 2025, though part of me is still in denial that summer is over. Time marches on and we go forward into the new year. So yeah, go get it. It's on Amazon. Both the new workbook or updated workbook and the Dogged 2025 planner are available now. All right, so let's get into it. So today I'm talking about kind of like the 5, some people would call them pillars of great mindset stuff, right? So the things you have to maybe, I wanted to say master, but that's not true because we never master. We're shedding perfectionism, right? We know that perfection is not attainable, so we're not going there. But the 5 kind of areas that I'm always talking about, right? That are sort of foundational to a really great mindset. And the first thing I'll start with is the growth mindset. The growth mindset in and of itself. So when we think about what is a growth mindset, that we're always contrasting it to a fixed mindset. So a fixed mindset uses words like always, never, I am, my dog is, these kind of declarative statements that basically say it's not going to change, it is what it is. Okay. Versus a growth mindset believes that with effort, with resources, things can improve. Maybe not overnight, maybe you won't be the best ever in the whole wide world in the history of the sport, but with effort, things can improve. And in order to hang on to that growth mindset, we have to believe that, we have to believe that, in the power of yet. Right? That I'm just not there yet. I can't do that skill yet. But with effort, with time, with practice, I can improve. Right? Again, maybe not overnight, but I can improve. A growth mindset also says that there is no such thing as failure, that every mistake, every error, every NQ is just feedback, that we learn from it. We take the lesson of the learning. We don't use it to beat ourselves up, but we take the lesson. We maybe make a note of it. We know what we might change or do differently, or maybe what skill we need to develop next time. And we tuck it in and we move on, rather than go over and over with the, mull it over and over, that is, or worse yet, say, I'm never going to get it, right? We're always going to screw up our front crosses, or we're just never going to get, the recall down, or what have you, right? That would be fixed mindset. So we don't make our mistakes, our quote unquote failures, mean anything. They're just data points, right? It's just a moment in time. It's just a mistake to be learned from. A fixed mindset person makes their mistakes mean something about who they are, right? They make a mistake and they must think, oh my God, I'm a terrible handler. Whereas a growth mindset person says, oh, I made a mistake. I'm going to learn from that. I won't do that again, or I need to work on this skill, or what have you. They alchemize it, right? They use it as fuel to propel them forward, to get to the next level, to level up, to be better, and to push themselves. So when we're talking about mindset work, we're talking about our mental game, the very first thing that we have to embrace is this growth mindset, this idea that whatever it is that we want to improve, that it can improve with effort, that it is possible. So we lean in with curiosity. We lean in with more of an open mind, like more of a wonder of like, ooh, how can I use this to my advantage? How can I use this as fuel? How can I turn this into something amazing instead of, woe is me, I'll never get there, right? So growth mindset, that is like kind of the cornerstone of all of this mindset stuff that we do together, okay? The next one, of course, is goal setting. I love me some goals, okay? And everybody has goals. That's the great thing. But through my approach, and it's not, I didn't make it up. Like I say my approach, I've sort of cobbled together a lot of things. There's a lot of, if you read people like Lanny Basham, who's like, the king of a lot of this stuff, you'll see a lot of similarities, right? There's a lot of other great work. I read all the time, studying all the time, learning from the best all the time. But when it comes to goals, I really am very passionate about, like so passionate I created a planner, a workbook, and a course. But I'm really passionate about that when we have to write down our goals, but even more than that, we have to make a plan and we have to break down those goals so that we know how we're going to achieve them, right? To say that you want a mock or an och or a rock or any of the other ox, wonderful championship titles in the world isn't enough. And so often I will hear people talk about their goals and they're just talking about that one kind of marathon outcome goal. And that's wonderful. I have those. I have pages of them, right? I have probably a dozen for each of my dogs, okay? I want you to have those lifetime goals for your dogs. But then I also am very passionate that you have to break those down. So if that's what you want for your lifetime of your dog, then what do you want in the next 3 years? What do you want in the next year? What are you going to do in the next 3 to 6 months? How do you break those things down? And what is your plan of attack? What skills do you need to work on in order to support your goals? And how are you going to measure your progress throughout the year, right? Not just state that goal January 1 and then not look at your list of goals until December 31st. Are you checking in every quarter? How are you adjusting your goals? Maybe you have to adjust them mid-year. Maybe something changes. Maybe you don't want that goal anymore. Something mid-year happens, or maybe your dog has to switch sports for whatever reason midway through. So how are you looking at those goals? How are you adjusting them? And how are you staying excited about them? Because sometimes those marathon goals, man, that middle part can be rough, And so we need to, how are we staying motivated? How are we keeping them front of mind? And are we checking in and making sure that we still want them in the same way? All right. And then, of course, doing regular reviews. I like quarterly reviews. I don't like looking at it more than that because I think then you can't see the progress. But I feel like, every 90 days, every 120 days, certainly every 6 months, you can look at those goals and really see the progress that you've made over the past 3 to 6 months. Okay. And of course, that leads me into the third thing, which is outcome versus process. So this is a huge way that I break down goals. Again, not my invention. I'm not taking credit for inventing it, God knows. But the idea of that outcome goals are those shiny objects, right? Those beautiful titles, those great big ribbons, those cues, those things that we want, right? But they're the result. And they're the result of a lot of work. And they're the result of process goals. Those things that we have to do in order to put ourselves in a position to cue. and to obtain titles and things like that. So if the outcome goal is the title, then the process goal that day might be, making sure I'm connected to my dog, making sure I'm cueing early enough, making sure I'm paying attention to my footwork. It could be a bunch of different things, but it's the things we have to execute on in order to put ourselves in a position to cue, which puts us in a position to earn that title. Outcome goals we're really not in control of. We really aren't. And that's also kind of the maddening thing about them. But that's sport, isn't it? Like every sport, involves, a whole bunch of variables that we are not in control of. Otherwise, it wouldn't be nearly as interesting or certainly not nearly as hard. So even, in the ring where there's a judge, whether it's subjective or objective, maybe they make a funky call or, maybe they deduct extra points or are extra hard on you, or maybe they miss something altogether. So the judge is a variable. Your dog, you don't control. We would like to, but at best, we train them, we influence them, we ask them to, we cue them, we ask them to do their thing, and we count on them coming through. But, our dogs make mistakes, we make mistakes, all kinds of things happen. Crazy variables happen, bangs, loud noises, the list goes on of things that we don't control. Whereas process goals, we do control. A really well-crafted process goal, you should be 100% in control of that, of the ability to do that, right? So if I say that one of my goals is to cue my dog earlier, then I'm in control of that. I'm in control of whether or not I get there, wherever there is on the course, or if I'm, really want to work on my footwork, or I, what have you, like I'm in control of that. So a really good process goal puts us in the driver's seat, makes us feel a lot more in control, because we are, but also it just gives us that sense of control. It brings that back. And when we measure ourselves against our process goals, we see that we make a lot more progress than we maybe even thought we were. Because I think the habit is, and I'm seeing this a lot, especially in a lot of my coaching clients right now, is they are going to the line with their process goals. I'm tripping over my tongue here. When they go to the line with their process goals, and they're like, these are my process goals. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, great. And so then I asked this question today. I said, so when you come out of the ring, are you measuring your progress, your performance against those 3 process goals that you just rattled off? And they're like, nope, I'm measuring whether or not I cued. Okay. So you shouldn't, but it is possible that you could be walking into the ring with process goals, top of mind. This is what I'm focused on. This is what I have to execute. I'm fully in control of this, but then come out of the ring and measure your success against outcome. Did I cue? Was I clean? Did I get the points? What have you? And that's not good. Okay. What we want to be doing is we want to be measuring our success, like defining success by how well we did against those process goals. Because again, if we are executing against those process goals well, then we are putting ourselves in a position to cue. And we can still be celebrating even if we did not cue. For whatever reason, maybe something out of our control, maybe something fluke, maybe something the judge did, again, that list is long. So we want to make sure that we are also measuring our success by those process goals and not getting it mixed up, even though we really want that outcome. We really want that darn cue, don't we? All right, I've got 2 more for you when I come back. Quick question. Do you ever wish you had more mindset help? Well, the Q membership was created just for that reason. Every month we pick a topic and then we have 4 lessons, which are kind of like these podcasts that we dive deeper into. And so if you are ready for more, you're ready for more mindset work, think about joining the Q membership. Annual members get a free coaching session, but you can also choose the monthly option as well. Go to theqcoach.com to learn more. Let's get back to the episode. Okay, my next two pillars, as it were, or, kind of foundational pieces to great mindset. The next is rituals, or the next are rituals, I suppose. So I talk about rituals, and I use the word ritual because to me, they're non-negotiables. It's not just habits. Like it goes further than that. And so I don't know, whatever day I was looking at the thesaurus, like the next word that came to me was rituals. Like they're like ritualistic in terms of commitment to them. And what I'm talking about, these like my misplaced pronouns here, what they are the things that we do basically from the time we wake up in the morning on trial day to the time we walk to the line. Everything that happens, whether our habits in at home or in the hotel room, how we set ourselves up for success, how we are, maybe, everything from laying out our clothes to making sure our dogs get a nice long walk in the morning, either at the hotel or at the site or at home, or, what we're packing for lunch and how we're organized. And then when we get to the trial, how we're warming up our dog, how we're setting up our crates, how when it's time to run, how we're doing our crate to gate rituals and how we're getting our dogs to the ring, how we're managing their energy, our energy, how we get into the right headspace. Are we listening to music? Are we meditating in the car? Are we, calming ourselves down or amping ourselves up? Or do our dogs need to be calmed down or amped up? Like all of that stuff. And that's a lot. Like I'm cutting this list short, okay? There's a lot that happens from the time you open your eyes in the morning to the time you walk to the line. And it's important to think about those things because they set the tone for the day. And I won't go too deep into this because the very last week's podcast went real deep into crate to gate and the importance of rituals and things like that, because it really does set the tone. Not only does it ground you in your day, but it tells your dog like what's going to happen, because your dog is like, oh, we're in this routine. I get it. I know what we're going to do today. So our dogs like to be predictable. We like predictability. But mostly as humans, we love to be in control. So going back to that control piece of it, we get to control our rituals. We get to set the tone for the day. We get to, make sure that we are set up for success, that all of those things that we can control, that we have controlled. And it frees our brain up to be able to then tackle the variables. Right? The trial that's running late, or the person, they shove two people in front of you in the order of go, or, the ring is set up differently than it was the last time you were at this venue. All the different, or the weather's funky, or you didn't get the parking spot you wanted, whatever. There's a whole bunch of other variables. And now that your brain doesn't have to worry about like whether or not you packed lunch, or that your dog got a proper warm up, or that you've got your dog's favorite toy, or, what have you, now your brain can deal with those variables, right? If you think about the times that you've gotten overwhelmed or you get kind of like shaken off your foundation, it is those kind of surprises, right? That kind of catch you off guard and make you feel more vulnerable or make you feel like you're not in control. Like when you do get your dog up to the ring and you think you're 3 dogs out and suddenly you're 6 dogs out, like how infuriating, right? Or you get there and you think you're 5 dogs out and you're 2 dogs out, like same, like it can rattle you, and it rattles you. It's an easy example, but it rattles you because that wasn't the plan. That was not the plan. That is not in control. That is not what was supposed to happen. So we want to free our brains up to be able to handle those variables as they come without having to worry about basics, even comes down to like what you're going to wear that day. If that is a challenge for you, like I probably think about my clothes days in advance, because again, I like solving it so that I don't have to worry about it. So rituals, that is another area that when you listen to my podcast long enough, you will definitely hear as a recurring theme, because I really believe in buttoning them up. And by the way, there are post rituals too. It's not just for before you run, it's for after you run. What's your cool down plan? How do you get recentered? How do you bounce back when you didn't have the run that you expected to? How do you reset for your next run or next dog or the next day? Like, that's part of it too. So they're pre and post rituals. So we want to get those buttoned up. All right, my last sort of pillar or foundational thing is related to what your brain does, and that has to do with how we manage fear, performance anxiety, ring nerves, whatever you want to call it. And I've done, definitely longer podcasts on this, or longer episodes, I should say. And, what I want you to understand is when we are feeling nervous, we are most likely, most of the time, focusing on the outcome. And we can get nervous about an event that is months away, as easy as we can get nervous about a run that is minutes away. Okay. So, but what we're worried about is the outcome. How am I going to do? How's it going to turn out? Right? How's it going to go? Is my dog going to embarrass me? Am I going to embarrass me? Am I going to be able to, do myself proud, do my dog proud, do my dog justice? Am I going to make a fool out of whatever those fears are, they're outcome based. Okay. Because no one ever says, I'm worried, I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to connect to my dog. I've never heard anybody say that. I've never had a client say to me that they were afraid of not being able to execute a process goal. Okay. It just doesn't happen. They're worried about the outcome. They're worried about the result. They're maybe worried about what other people think, what other people say, that people are watching. It's outcome based. So the first thing to know about your performance anxiety, your ring nerves, is that you are probably focused on the end, on the drive home, on the summation of your day, right? The report card of your day and what you're going to have to tell someone, or, what other people are going to post on Facebook, and that's going to make you feel a certain way. Okay. Outcome, outcome, outcome. So my first advice, little piece of advice, is to get your focus back on those process goals, get them back on the things you can control, back on the pieces and parts that you have to execute in order to give yourself a chance, or at least have a productive, positive run and experience for your dog, right? Maybe you're making an investment in your future teammate, right? Maybe you know that, today's not going to be your day based on the course, but you're going to make a really good experience for both of you because you're working towards something bigger. Okay. Focus inward, focus on those process goals. Don't focus outward on those outcome goals. Okay. The second thing to know about fear is what's happening physically in those moments. All right. Your brain, and I'm not going to go into it. You've heard me talk about it before probably, but stuff's happening in your brain. Okay. That's the shortest version. And what is happening is the front part of your brain is communicating to your midbrain, which is where your emotions are, communicating to your primal brain, your amygdala, that lizard brain that controls your breathing, your heart rate, your blood flow. Okay. And when you are nervous, when you are in any sort of state of fear, that primal brain, that amygdala, that lizard brain starts changing the flow of your body. Okay. It floods your body with hormones. It makes your heart beat a little faster. It makes your breathing a little shallower. It diverts blood flow away from things like your stomach. That's why you might get sick to your stomach, away from your brain. So not only might you get a headache, but you also might not be able to think clearly. That's physical. You saying that like, oh my God, I was foggy. I didn't remember the course. I got out there and I didn't even know what happened. That's real. You didn't make that up. That was a result of the up to 30% of the blood flow in your brain diverting to bigger muscle groups, because anthropologically, you might have to run from something scary, okay? So it's pushing that blood flow to your big muscle groups, to those fight or flight muscle groups, and that's what it's actually doing. So I tell you all of that because there is a physical component. We can learn to interrupt it and we can learn to take control of it so long as we recognize it. And sometimes it's kind of comforting to know that, oh, you mean the reason I couldn't remember the course was like an actual real thing that was happening in my brain. Yep. The reason I was sick to my stomach beforehand, or the reason that I got a headache or what have you, that was all very real. So we can learn to interrupt those processes and we can learn to get that blood flowing back into the front of our brains. And that is learnable skills. Okay. So good news, you can be in control. So with these kind of 5 themes, foundational pieces, what have you, like when we work on these, like we're starting to put together like a bigger picture. But the most important thing I want you to know is that when we work on these, we increase our confidence, we get more consistent, we feel more in control of our performance and what is most likely to happen. And then we realize that all of these things are learnable skills. All of these things, like confidence, for instance, is just a grouping of learnable skills, right? We become more confident. We think that we have to do it and have good experiences to earn our confidence. But yet confidence is like comes first, and we can learn that. And then we get the outcomes we like. Okay. So it's a little maybe backwards of what you might have thought, but the good news is it's backwards in a good way, if that's a thing, because we can learn it, right? Confidence is learned. Our mindset improves through the learning all of these little tools and skills. So have hope. Stick around, listen to more episodes, binge your favorites, go back and re-listen to some things that, that light you up and really get you going. And as always, let me know like what topics you want to hear more about, because I am here to serve. And in the meantime, go get your new planner or workbook. And no matter what you are up to this week with your dogs, I hope you have a fantastic time. Thanks so much for listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast with me, Julie Bacon. I am so grateful for your precious time. Check out my Dogged Planner, workbook, and journal available on Amazon. Just search for Dogged Planner. I also offer monthly membership that's perfect for ongoing support of your awesome goals. Check out theqcoach.com for details, or just stop by and check out all the ways you can work on your mindset. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at theqcoach and let me know how it's going. Finally, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps us podcasters tremendously. Plus, I know I get my best podcast recommendations from friends. Thanks, and have a great week with your dogs.